TV Crazy Man here. Today we find goofs that made it to the final cut and fun trivia facts from everybody's favorite comic character come to life, Dennis the Menace, and his pal, good old Mr. Wilson.
Oh, that'll be peachy dandy.
On the episode, Dennis's garden, Mr. Wilson pours water on Henry's head, whom he thinks is a cat getting into his plants.
Blasted cat!
But it actually looks like Henry has had water poured on him already. Before Wilson even dumps water on Henry, his hair is already messed up and his shirt is damp looking. You can even see a drop of water dripping off of his head. It looks like Herbert Anderson, who plays Henry, had to do the shot more than once. And it's too bad we don't have the blooper reel for this. It'd be pretty funny. I'm sure he would have laughed too.
And so you can see the whole thing was just an unfortunate error.
This is Henry's wife and Dennis's mom, Alice Mitchell, played by Gloria Henry. Alice was indeed a superhero. Notice how fast she puts that cup down without spilling a drop. Here it is again. She's about to drink. Nope, changed her mind. Of course, growing up, I always suspected that moms do have superhuman abilities.
Boy, I'll say.
Yep, that's Ronnie Howard, and here he's playing Dennis's friend Stuart, which he played for 6 episodes. On the episode, Dennis and the Bike. Dennis shows us that you can fly a kite indoors if the kite is outside and the string is the only thing that's indoors. But you probably shouldn't tie the string to furniture.
How many times have...
Is that flower vase and ashtray super glued to that table? Or I guess it could be related to her mom's superpowers.
Great Scott! Great Scott!
Now, I have a theory that Mr. Wilson is actually Superman. Now think about it. Mr. Wilson's favorite phrase is Great Scott.
Great Scott! Dennis!
And Mr. Wilson loves to wear suits and ties almost all the time, and of course he does wear glasses. If he's not in disguise, then maybe this is Superman as an older man retired from crime fighting and having to deal with another comic strip character, Dennis the Menace.
Great Scott! Dennis, Great Scott, how did you get in here? Oh my God! He did it again!
This next goof involves a penny and alternative American history.
Did you notice the date on it?
It was a 1492, but it was my own penny and it's now in the meter.
That would have been some trick since the first U.S. penny was designed by Benjamin Franklin in 1787.
Did you notice the date on it?
It was a 1492, but it was my own penny and it's now in the meter.
On the episode, Dennis goes to camp. Mr. Wilson gets kicked in his shin, but then he rubs the other leg.
Oh! Great Scott!
In the episode, Dennis's tool chest, there's a mysterious person hiding out in Mr. Wilson's car. Okay, so first a cat is seen jumping into the trunk. Then the head of someone pops up. Some people might say that it's probably just a cat's trainer, but after 20 years, my cat has never came when I called her. She kind of expects me to come when she calls me. So the only logical conclusion that I can come up with after decades of extensive television watching is that it's the guy from the Twilight Zone.
I believe you're going my way.
In the episode, Woodman Spare That Tree, Mr. Wilson is seen climbing a tree for the close-ups, and then Mr. Wilson's stunt double takes over for the long shots, climbing a real tree. I think Mr. Wilson's stunt double is bald, or Mr. Wilson had to pay and it fell off.
Are you sure?
On the episode, Dennis in the Pee Wee League, Henry is first seen practicing ball wearing a button-up shirt. Then he walks up to Mr. Wilson wearing a dirtier sweatshirt. Question is, why did he change into a dirtier shirt just to talk to Mr. Wilson? On the episode A Dog's Life, Mr. Wilson gets into his car where Dennis awaits. As they drive down the block, it almost looks like Dennis has disappeared. But the weird thing is that on the close-ups, no matter how far they drive, the background stays a solid gray, as if the world were completely erased.
Well, I'll have to lose him.
You've just crossed over into the Twilight Zone.
On the episode, Dennis's documentary film, Mr. Wilson and Henry lose a camera on the bed of this truck. Notice the lady crossing the street. Now as Henry and Mr. Wilson catch up the truck, she walks past the corner, and then she pops up again and walks out of sight once more. Did the Matrix have a hiccup? Is this a case of a problem with the space-time continuum? Well, it does make you wonder why they would have the lady walk by twice, though, doesn't it?
I wonder.
On the episode First Editions, Dennis dumps his comics all over John Wilson's desk, which appears to knock the phone off the hook, but that doesn't stop it from ringing.
John, the phone's ringing.
I know.
Then the receiver changes places instantaneously. But that's not what bothers me. As a comic book collector, I find this scene very disturbing. You realize how much money some of those comics could have been worth that Wilson and Dennis were just throwing around like trash? Very disturbing indeed. Considering that Dennis the Menace is himself a comic book character, you'd think they would be more careful.
I think you're just going to have to get rid of him.
Well, it goes to show you, nobody's perfect. Not even classic TV parents.
How much is this one? 3 cents?
You don't suppose that kid got his hands on this one for 3 cents, do you? Of course, he could have bought it off the newsstand for 12. And now, some great fun trivia facts from Dennis the Menace.
What's the good word, strangers?
Did you know that Bugs Bunny actually met Dennis the Menace? Well, Mel Blanc, the voice of Bugs, and a multitude of other characters met Dennis, played by Jay North, of course, on the episode Miss Cathcart's Friend.
Oh, I'm Leo Trinko. I'm glad to know you.
Where's the dog catcher?
2 days after this episode aired, Mel had his famous near-fatal car accident that took him off of his current job at the time as the voice of Barney Rubble on the Flintstones. In order to try to get Mel's attention, the doctor asked Mel if Bugs Bunny was in there, and of course Mel responded,
What's up, Doc?
in Bugs Bunny's voice. Mel eventually recovered and lived to be 81 years old before he passed on in 1989. Joseph Kearns played Mr. Wilson. Kearns was one of the main reasons I think the show was such a success. His responses to Dennis were just hilarious.
Dennis, will you please put down that bat? It makes me nervous. Oh, good grief. Here we go, Mr. Wilson. Oh.
Before Dennis the Menace, Kearns was a regular on the Jack Benny radio show, and he appeared on 8 episodes of the Jack Benny TV series as well.
Mr. Kearns, where did you get this hat? Well, I was in the store that day, too.
He also appeared on 19 episodes of The Adventures of Ozzie and Harriet, and 12 episodes of the George Burns and Gracie Allen Show, plus a long list of appearances on shows from the early days of television. Sadly, during the 3rd season, Kearns passed away at the very young age of only 55. Now, personally, I had no idea he was only 55 until I was doing research for this video. Some speculate that perhaps a new liquid diet he had recently started had something to do with his sudden cerebral hemorrhage. He apparently had lost 40 pounds in 6 weeks, but I guess we'll never know for sure what caused his untimely death. Replacing him was Gale Gordon, a great comedian and actor who is probably most widely known for his work with Lucille Ball on the series Here's Lucy and the Lucy Show.
When did she? I'm so upset, Bill. I've spilled the coffee. What?
And even her 80s comeback that only lasted 1 season. Gordan took over as George Wilson's brother John Wilson in Season 3's episode John Wilson's Cushion. Eventually, John Wilson would buy George's house and move in permanently to explain George's disappearance. Dennis the Menace debuted in comic strips in 1951. It was created by Hank Ketchum, who created the strip based on his own family. Dennis has also been a star of comic books as well from various publishers. There was even a series of 10 comic books created as a Bible Kid series. I actually remember having these comics as a kid, which was a little ways back. Now, can you guess how old Dennis is supposed to be in the comic strip? So Jay North was 8 when the show debuted on television. But in the comic strip, Dennis was younger, at only age 5. Henry Mitchell, his dad in the comic strip, is supposed to be 32. I didn't see a mention of Alice Mitchell's comic strip age. I guess it's a secret. I saw an old interview with Jay North where he had said that his experience as a child actor was terrible. He said the cast from the show was great, but apparently family problems and not getting to hang out with the other kids, among a lot of other things, made him hate show business.
They wouldn't have hired me after Dennis. I've been burned once too often. Now it's their turn.
In 1987, he did a comedic spoof on himself on a show called Not Necessarily the News.
Mr. North!
Herbert Anderson's last appearance on television was The Waltons on the episode The Venture in 1975. He passed away in 1994 after having a stroke. Gloria Henry recently passed away in 2021 at 98 years old. When Dennis the Menace began, Herbert Anderson was only 10 years younger than Kearns. Anderson was 42 and Kearns was 52 at the time. Of course, if you watched the show, it seemed like Henry Mitchell and Mr. Wilson were decades apart in age.
I'm going to mind my own business, and I suggest you do the same thing.
Did you know that Jay North had to have his hair dyed blonde to play Dennis? The show lasted 4 seasons, running from 1959 to 1963. Please don't forget to comment, talk about your memories of Dennis the Menace, and let me know what you thought about the video. Hit like, of course, and be sure and check out all the other videos on the TV Crazy Man channel for lots more fun classic TV goofs and fun facts. And if you're into animation, check out my other channel, Frady Cat Cartoons. That's where I'm going to be doing my creative stuff, where I show off my work on 2D animation, AI generated content, and whatever else I get a notion to work on that's, mostly original type content.
Son, I've got some mighty exciting adventures coming up.
Apparently Popeye the Sailor Man is now public domain, so I think this year I'm trying to work on adding him to my Frady Cat universe.
Give me something to look forward to.
Thanks again for watching and supporting this channel with your comments and likes. Y'all have a great day.